Chamberlain.
Well, yes, indeed. We're turning our attention now to a matter, well, if you want to call it urgent national importance, you can, because it affects revenue generation for the country. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get some perspectives from Mr. Andy Ode, who joins us next. He is the General Manager, External Relations and Sustainable Development for the NLNG. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well,
good morning, Chamberlain. Thank you very much.
Through from the NLNG concerning the force majeure, naturally there were lots of concerns about it. If I had experts in your field speaking, raising concerns about as much as your statements out there, but if they could just hear from you directly, could you give us a picture of what the current situation is?
Well, thanks a lot, Chamberlain. Good morning again. Well, as you're aware, on the 17th of October, we declared force majeure. But LNG declared force majeure due to force majeure declared to the company by its gas suppliers because of flooding in their areas of operation. And of course, as we know, force majeure is usually declared when an unforeseeable circumstance prevents a party from fulfilling its obligations. So for us, while acting as a prudent operator, what we also did was to declare force majeure, more like a notification to buyers and stakeholders that this is what's happening as a result of flooding. And NLNG, as a reasonable and prudent operator, in order to also mitigate the adverse impacts of such events, we continue to produce in our facility at the optimal level based on the feed gas we currently get, and of course, proactively engaging buyers and stakeholders. And this is one of the things that we're doing to ensure that everyone is on board concerning what has happened. We are in operation, and we are still producing LPG and LNG.
Okay, because there were some headlines that equally raised some concerns, even up till this morning, while they were talking about how this may have some impact on LPG. I know you did say you are still supplying, but at a limited capacity. So naturally, this will impact, or wait, is this going to impact on the price of gas now?
Well, we don't determine the price of gas as a company. However, I understand the fears and concern out there, but I think it's important to reiterate that we are producing LPG, which is the cooking gas, into the domestic market. Only last week, the only dedicated LPG vessel, Alfred Temile, left Bonny facility to deliver into depot in Lagos. Should this affect the price of cooking gas? No, it shouldn't. And I think to a large extent, the Nigerian Association of LPG Marketers have also gone out to assure the public that there's no need to panic buy. There's no need to stock or store cylinders in our homes because of the fear or concern that there will be scarcity. No, we're still in production just to provide that assurance.
In order to help us understand the significance of this, was there some sort of timeline given by your suppliers in terms of when they will return to normalcy and things get back to how it used to be?
Well, Chamberlain, as you know, it's all about flooding. While it is difficult, I would say it is a bit difficult to predict the weather. However, other factors that are involved, taking into consideration the fact that when you shut down or when you shut in, you only begin to reset or begin to reopen your facility, not our facility this time, facility of the operators, when water recedes. This we expect will happen by the upstream gas suppliers. But again, I think at this point, safety is key, safety of people who work in those sites, and of course, safety of assets in those facilities. For us as a company, we will continue to monitor the situation. In terms of timeline, we're looking at the next few weeks. Some have said from the weather reports, confirmation is that as we speak, the water is no more rising, expected for it to recede. So in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we expect that things should begin to return to normal, if I'll speak for those who have provided that assurance.
Okay, then. So I think my colleague Ayo has some questions for you. Ayo, go ahead.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Well, so one of the questions that will naturally come to me is in terms of internally generated revenue for the country. NLNG is one of Nigeria's, should I say, cash cows. At the latest, before the rebasing of the economy, NLNG alone as an institution was doing 4% into the GDP of the country, 1% now after the rebasing. Is this force majeure in any way going to affect that indices?
That's almost a trick question for me, but let me put it this way. I think our focus right now as a company is to ensure that, one, our plant continues to run again. And the reason why I'll say that is in Bonny, where we operate, our plant and our facilities on Bonny Island is not affected by the flood. So our focus right now is to run the plant, continue to produce LNG and LPG based on the feed gas we get. So, but due to the rapidly evolving situation, I think it would be unfair or inaccurate for me to begin to fix numbers to whether we would contribute higher or lower. It's a conversation we'll have another time. But quite frankly, the situation, I believe, is going to get better.
Well, you already spoke to gas supplies, domestic gas supply earlier. But then, as Chamberlain pointed out to you, there are a good number of, in fact, on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer this morning, cooking gas prices are said to be on the increase. If you want to advise, first of all, is there an increase in the supply, the cost of supply from NLNG to, the people who supply Nigerians, or not? If there isn't any, is there a way to monitor whether or not people increase the prices where they are?
Well, I think first of all is to just say, look, what we do not determine the price. The other market forces. So if we're doing a little above 40% of what's required in country, haven't committed 100% of LPG production to the domestic market, which happened earlier this year. The question now is, so where is this happening? Where is this coming from? Do we have enough what we produce and what, of course, is imported into the country? Do we have enough to go around? Someone will say. I think demand is very high, and when demand is high, the other market forces that determine the price. It means that less goods, more people chasing less goods. So I think a lot of questions to ask and answer in that space. My assumption, and from what I've heard from the marketers, is that they are not bringing enough LPG into the domestic market for so many reasons, from cost of funds to levies and all of that. But for us, we continue to remain committed to supporting LPG penetration in the country. And that is why we have dedicated 100%. So again, Ayo, quite frankly, maybe the experts in LPG marketing will be able to speak to that. We are just producing and pushing to the market. Yeah.
Well, allow me to scrutinize the statement, the last statement you put out about still being in business. Item 4 there says, Nigeria LNG continues to supply LPG to the domestic market for now from the limited production. For now could be interpreted in a number of ways. Does that mean it could get worse, or as we hope it gets better?
Well, I believe it will get better. When we say for now, it in the same breath that we declared force majeure, we also saying, look, this is the current situation. However, the statement before that seeks to provide assurance that we're producing, we're delivering to the market. I think it's gotten to the bottom where things are a bit tight with the flood. Like I said, flood is receding. We don't expect anything to get. We don't expect it to get worse. It can only get better. That statement was issued last week because of the concern. But I think for what we hear, what we see around the weather forecast, things should get better. But again, just to appeal to everyone, you know what, you don't need to go fill up more cylinders, store them in the house. That's safety issues. And if we all go crowd into the point where we refill our cylinders, what does that mean? We are denying those who need to just have one cylinder in their homes. So what does that do? It puts a lot of pressure. Again, it's a lot of opportunity for us to say to everyone. This opportunity for us to say to everyone, please don't go panic buying and don't go stocking more cylinders in your homes.
Well, it's really hard to ignore the headlines. I mean, when you see a headline such as cooking gas more expensive in Abuja, and Abuja has largely been impacted, the energy market here in Abuja has been really impacted by what has happened in Lokoja. Few queues are really long, and you're also beginning to see some queues at the LPG stations here in Abuja. When you say do not panic, and you know you're hoping that things will get better, but from where you speak right now, it's still that it's getting better. It's still a forecast. Can you give, will I say, a more definitive time as to when you think that things might stabilize from the expectations of NLNG?
Okay, so Mogbe, thanks for that. Again, like I said earlier, NLNG is one of so many sources of LPG into the domestic market. And every volume we get, we commit to delivering into the domestic market. And also, like I said earlier, we expect that in the next 4 weeks or thereabouts, things should begin to get better. But again, like I said, also, volumes that we commit, only last week, we sent out a dedicated vessel that delivers LPG into the market. I think we need to look somewhere else as well. Do we have enough in the country? Are there opportunities that we're missing in terms of volumes that should be coming into the domestic market? If NLNG is accountable for just 40%, a little more than 40% of what we currently consume, it means there's a gap somewhere. That gap we can't fill. It depends on the gas, the feed gas we get to liquefy before we can push it to the domestic market. And as it is, we don't get enough feed gas. But from our own point of view, like I said, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to be stable. We'll be stable enough to continue what we're doing. That is not to say that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we've missed another cargo of LPG into the market. No, because we don't do LPG into the market every day or every week. On the average, 1 or 2 cargoes a month.
In other words, I mean, and it's actually good perspective coming through there. I was going to ask that, does that then mean in the next couple of weeks, if you don't get any supply from your suppliers, will there be any cause to worry?
Well, if we don't, there would be cause to worry. We are all worried, one as Nigerians, and two, we also have buyers and customers that we're dealing with in the entire spectrum of the product lines that we have. However, the assurance we have based on what we're hearing with the forecast that things will get better. I don't think they're going to get worse. They'll get better.
All right. So you have indeed identified some perhaps food for thoughts for the country, because I mean, looking at the floods in those different parts of the country, Bayelsa, Lokoja, they were really, really scary and challenging, especially those who have been affected. But it's good that good to know that none of the facilities for NLNG was impacted by this flood, just from your suppliers. And so next couple of weeks, as you say, hopefully things should normalize, and next month or thereabout, supply should be out there. So we have to thank you very much indeed for your time and perspective today, Mr. Andy Ode.
Thank you very much.